It's the Small Business Rally Point live broadcast for the 23rd of March, 2020, and things continue to change. I'm Pat Miller, I'm the Idea Coach, and we've been doing these Zoom calls to try and take the collective consciousness of the small business owner in Southeast Wisconsin. And since we started the calls, we've gone from what I'm pretty confident to say, oh my God, what's going on, panic, to okay, I'm kind of getting it, to today, now being Monday. People are trying to get their feet under them and they're thinking, okay, I'm back on it. I'm with it. In fact, inside the Brand Crafted group on Facebook, we launched a poll asking, where are you? Are you still panicked and lost, or do you have your act together and ready to roll? 90% of the people that responded said they were back with it and they were either digging out or they were ready to move forward. So today, I want to make sure that we talk about a couple of important things. We have Big Mike Danielson's going to come on and talk to us about funding options, because if you're like a lot of the small businesses in my network, some of your current revenue just it's gone. It's not here anymore. And you might need a hand to get through the next few weeks or months, depending on how long this goes. So Big Mike volunteered to tell us about some funding options that have been made available through SBA and some other sources. The other thing you might need some guidance on is your finances and how you're managing your cash flow, how you're managing your books, what questions you might have about that. One of the smart kids in our network, Rachel LaMantia from Masterpiece Bookkeeping, is going to come on and talk to us about that. But we would be not paying attention to the big news of the day if we didn't start with the news. And another shout out to our friend Erik Bilstad at WTMJ Radio. He's the executive producer of news. He's been coming out and giving us news updates. So Billy, I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us again today. The big story of the day is Governor Evers and his shelter-in-place declaration.
Yes.
What's he saying? What's going on?
It's called something different. It's called Safer at Home.
Oh, that's better.
Not quite the same. It mirrors basically the same restrictions, but they're trying to find a way to keep people at home without scaring them or suggesting that martial law is coming. So they're going with safer at home. Right now, we have more than 419 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the state, at least 4 deaths. We have a report of a 5th one now, so 5 deaths. The majority of the cases are in Milwaukee County, about half. So about 205 are in Milwaukee County, the rest are across the state. So this is the order. It's safer at home. So the governor is ordering the closure of all non-essential businesses in the states. He's going to sign the order tomorrow. It'll likely be another day or two before it actually goes into place. So non-essential businesses will be forced to close. The governor used the term all hands on deck. He made the comment that this wasn't necessarily a lockdown, but rather an attempt to get people to think of unnecessary trips. Where do they not have to go? You know, stay within the more important ones. You can still go to the grocery store. You can still take a walk with your dog. You can still go biking. Even some of the state parks are open, but he doesn't necessarily think going to the bicycle shop is something that someone needs to do. So if it is deemed non-essential, it will shut down. Milwaukee announced a similar order. Theirs is called Stay at Home. And that one goes into effect at midnight, I believe, Wednesday morning. So one more day before that one goes into effect. And that one's very similar. A couple of the other comments they made about it: no sleepovers. They suggested no play dates, no dinner parties, no hanging out with neighbors and friends. That type of thing needs to stop, according to the governor. And this is just his way of, again, showing some urgency by announcing this Safer at Home initiative.
You know, as a messaging guy, it's extremely frustrating to me to hear the governor say businesses should close, because I think that causes a lot of confusion for people that can fully operate their business at home. I get the idea of close your storefront. What I don't like is the idea of businesses should close. I was on a conference call with another client when that order came out, and the client was like, well, do I have to not operate anymore? I just don't like the way that they're phrasing that, right. But I get what they're going for there. So what else about this order is happening? Is this a done deal and he's going to announce it, or where are we?
Well, the big question is, what is considered a non-essential business, right? So what you said makes perfect sense, yes. And you can still operate from your home. You can still work from home and that type of thing. In fact, they encourage that if at all possible. What we don't know yet is what is considered an essential business and what is considered a non-essential business. And I'm sure that some businesses would like to think that they are essential, even though others may not think they are. So that will be the big news that is brought out tomorrow. They expect to go through a detailed outline to describe exactly which businesses they would expect to shut down. One thing to point out is that if someone is out, or if a business is open and they shouldn't be, or are deemed not something that should be open, then they will be told to stop by the local authorities. Police departments will go to businesses and say, hey, you got to shut your doors. Restaurants, same situation as before. Bars, same situation as before. You know, a lot of it's very similar. And this may only affect, I shouldn't say only affect, but it may affect actually a limited number of businesses across the state. But again, it's his way of getting out in front of it again to, again, remind people, hey, let's take this even more seriously. He said on Friday, you may recall, the governor had no intentions of doing a shelter-in-place type ruling. He had said, oh, you know what, I'm reluctant to do that kind of thing. The reason he said he changed his mind is because he talked to business leaders, he talked to health officials, he talked to others throughout the last few days. And as they continue to see this spike, they realize that they need, again, to get people not to leave their houses if they can keep them at home. One thing also to point out is don't forget that the numbers we're seeing now, this, 419, I think is what I said. Yeah, 419 confirmed cases. That's like a 2-week ago number. That isn't like a today number. So you can expect that number to only go up. So as far as how we are handling this pandemic with our, a lot of us sheltering in places and all that, we're hoping we would see that here in another week or two to see what that's really done. But everything they've seen so far still seems to indicate that we're rapidly heading in an increased position than decreasing, and that's why they want to get in front of it again.
So for clarity, what you're saying is that the 2-week ago number means that's how long it takes for the symptoms to develop. So you think there may be more than 400 cases active right now.
Right, and that's me. That's layman Erik talking. I'm not
Sure.
I'm not a doctor or anything by any means, but no, that's so don't assume that number to necessarily represent how we're handling things right this second, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have been sheltering in place now for about a week. Some people a little bit longer, some people less than that. Now they're hoping that in another week or so, we'll start to see what that result has been. But to suggest that the number today is exactly that, it's a little bit more fluid than that. You got to think about who's been out already, when people were sick. That number is increasing only because people have been tested now for several weeks. So it's just kind of a fluid number. I wouldn't think of it as such a realistic, real-time number that is indicating what we're doing today, if that makes sense.
That's good. That's good. During our call today, if you have questions for Erik or Big Mike or Rachel, drop them down in the comments and we'll include you in the conversation. Let's shift our focus just a little bit. What's going on with the House and the Senate? They don't have a deal done yet. Last time I checked, Nope. What are they fighting about and where's the deal?
Basically, the issue is the Democrats want to turn more of that money towards what they say is essential, like whether it's workers, whether it's small businesses they claim. Now, Congress has run into more roadblocks because of it. Right now, they have just blocked the vote of that advance against. So the Democrats have now blocked a procedural vote for the second time. And basically what they're trying to do is get that money to assistance to public health and to workers. They claim, and the Republicans don't necessarily think that's completely accurate, but the Democrats believe that if they do it the way it is currently done, it will only be tilted toward corporations. And you're using the buzz term bailout, where they believe it needs to be more reined in so there isn't money just thrown wild to some businesses that already have a lot of money. That's the Democrats speaking. The Republicans will say, hey, look, we need to get something on the table. There's small businesses, there's Americans who need something right now. We got to pull the trigger on this. And that just has not yet happened. I would expect a development, at least another vote, or if nothing further than that, later on today. But as of now, the Democrats have voted to reject a second procedural vote in the Senate. They're still arguing about it.
I can't thank you enough for coming on our call and sharing the news of the day. I know that we all really appreciate it. Erik Bilstad, Executive Producer of News, WTMJ Radio. You're the man, Billy. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Good luck, everybody. Be well.
Thanks, pal. All right, so let's move on to what we're going to talk about with the rest of our call. I want to talk about finance and I want to talk about funding. And you really don't have anything to finance if you don't have any funding. So Big Mike, who we all know and love, is a lender. He decided to come on and tell us about how we can get some cash because, well, a lot of us need it right now. So Big Mike, thanks for joining us. Why don't we talk for a second about the SBA program as a whole and what have they done special to make it easier for small businesses to get access to the funds in the light of what's going on?
Sure. Well, on Saturday, the link opened for businesses affected in Wisconsin, And the best way to find it, everyone, is just to go out to sba.gov/disaster. And there's a lot of information out there. It'll talk about the types of data that you'll need to upload. There's an application process to go through. It's online, which is nice because you can upload your information into the online system. And then there's a timestamp on it. So when you submit it, they'll actually service these requests in the order that they're received. So that's nice. It creates a line. I would encourage people to go out and start a profile. You can start like a login and password and build a profile and get started on it and keep working on it. If you're going to sit down and knock this out from start to finish, I've spoken with a few customers of mine that have done it, and they said it was quite involved. You're going to want to budget 3, maybe 4 hours to do this, just because you have to gather this information, and some of it might be in your QuickBooks, some of it might be you need your accountant to send something over to you. So there's a lot of just putzing around and getting the stuff together. There are also some forms specifically that need to be filled out about your situation. You're going to need to know things like if you're an LLC, you're going to need to know your employee ID number. If you're a partnership, you're going to need to have the names of the other partners and their ownership pieces, because obviously, this template was built to service little businesses like what most of us are, as well as very, very large corporations. As far as how much you can get, the SBA will review your financial data. They're going to pull a credit report, and their loan officers will come up with a proposal and get back to you and say, here's what we're thinking. And then you'll have a chance to discuss that with them. I'm guessing most likely, through the web. And I'm told right now from someone that I know that's already gone through the process, who did this on Saturday, they were told, we'll be back in touch with you in about 2, maybe 3 weeks. And the reason for that is just the backlog. You got to figure all these states, hundreds of thousands of businesses out there applying. So, the line forms to the left, and it's millions of people long.
Now, are there restrictions on what we can use the money for?
From what I know, you primarily have to use it to cover you can use it to cover the cost of your rent, for your hard costs of being open, your payroll, things of that nature. You can't use it for expansion, or you can't use it as, seed money to buy some other business that you want to buy. If you want to buy your competitor out or something like that, you can't use it for capitalistic type of purposes. It's mostly just for, my business is literally not able to function in its normal setup right now. I've had to let employees go. I've had, all of these things. Rent is due next month. I still got to pay the utilities. I've got vendors to pay. I need money, and I don't have any revenues coming in. And even if you have some revenues coming in, but it's way less than what the normal definition of business is, they're encouraging people to apply and see what you can come up with. Now, I do know that there's a lot of talk going back and forth, and I was trying to read in a little deeper. I do believe you have to have at least one employee in order for this to work. So if you are truly just a sole proprietor, but maybe organized as an LLC, it's just you, this might not be the right program for you. It might not work.
So Shalini asked a question in the comments, can any small business apply? Obviously, we have to have one employee or more, but can any small business apply, or is there a restriction on the types of businesses that can apply?
Certain businesses can't, businesses that are, I was reading something, it was really vague, business, I think CBD businesses are ineligible. If it's like a strip club or something like that, obviously ineligible. They're just not going to be good with something like that. You can be a landlord. Maybe your business is, I own 20 properties, and I'm worried that my tenants are not going to be able to afford to pay my rent. You can certainly apply and see what may be doable. So no, excellent question.
Okay. Anything else that we need to know as far as the SBA loans are concerned, or the way that the market is developing to try and get small businesses support?
I would say if you're interested in doing this, go out and visit the site and start gathering your ducks. That's, line up your ducks, get your things organized. From what, like I said, the process is taking a lot longer than one may think. and it's a matter of, oh shoot, they need that. Oh, I got to call this guy to get that. So to work on those things. The list is out there. Look on the site. There's a list of about 9 things you need. So use that as a guide to kind of get things going.
That's great. Big Mike, thanks so much for hopping on and sharing that information with us to talk about funding and how we can keep the doors open, because for some of us right now, that essential loan will help us pay the rent, pay the bills, and keep things going until a little bit of normalcy were to return. We're going to do an idea slam portion of the show a little bit later, and I know we've got 2 people on the call that need an idea, so that's great. If you need an idea to help your business pivot or to engage your customers, start thinking about it and drop down in the chat that you would like to have some time, because it's the most fun part of these calls for the first part. And secondly, we've got a bunch of really smart people on the line that can help you out. We came up with some things that people are actually using right now, so it's something to look forward to. So think about how we as a group can help you. We'll get to that in a minute. So with the money comes the management of the money, and the better you do at that, usually the more money you have. So let's bring on Rachel LaMantia from Masterpiece Bookkeeping. So Rachel, obviously someone that helps us manage their cash flow and their finances, but I specifically want to talk to you about some of the changes that are either being proposed or they're passed about how small businesses have to treat their employees. Can you update us on what's going on and what you know?
Sure. So there's the Family First Coronavirus Response Act that was passed just a few days ago, and all of the details are still trickling out. But the gist of it is that it's a way for small businesses to pay employees that need to take sick or additional leave because of this. So it's in addition to anything that you currently offer, meaning you can't force people to take PTO that you already offer before paying them this. It's an additional paid time off, essentially. It goes effective April 2nd, and there's 2 different parts of it and a lot of things that are involved. So I don't know how far you want me to go into it, but that's on the table.
Well, I think the broad strokes are important, but let's talk first about at what point does it cut off? Is it for everyone that has a business, or is there a bottom where it cuts off?
Unfortunately, there is not.
Everyone?
So,
everyone.
Under 500 and under. If you have over 500 employees, you probably have the resources and other time off and things like that. So it's any business that's under 500 employees. Regular FMLA has an exemption if you have 50 or less employees. That does not apply to this extended leave. So if you have less than 50 employees, you're required to do it.
Wow.
There's potential exemptions out there that is up to the Department of Labor, and we don't really have details on that. It only says if it will affect the viability of the business. So we are not exempted. The good news is that we get the money back. So the government is going to reimburse us for anything that we pay to employees for the leave. The bad news, in my opinion, is that probably 40% of Americans qualify because they have children under 18 at home right now. And I don't know about you, but if I lost 40% of my workforce for 12 weeks and had to give them their job back at the end of it, that would be really hard. So,
of all the things that we're talking about, how come we haven't heard much about this? Because for a lot of the folks on this call, that's devastating if 4 of their employees not only don't show up, now they've got to pay them while they're gone, and it doesn't go against their leave. I mean, that's a game changer. How come we haven't heard a lot about this?
I don't know. I think that the focus, and probably rightly so, is on preventing millions of deaths, right? Like, and not overwhelming the healthcare system. And if people are affected by this, how can we not crash the economy? Unfortunately, small business owners are a smaller percentage, and the news coming to us has to be filtered through the wide lens of everything, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't have a good answer for that. I don't run the media, but yeah, it's here and it's coming April 2nd. So if you have people that might take advantage of it, my recommendation is 2 things. Reach out to your people if you have a change in how you're working. have conversations with them, see how they're doing, see how they're coping, see how they're dealing with having family at home. Try and come up with the ways that you can make it work so that they don't feel they have to take the leave. And maybe that's reduced hours or additional flexibility or something like that, but try and create a culture in your business where you help each other, so that you don't get hit with half of your workforce taking 12 weeks off.
What are you recommending to your clients right now? Are we in a literal survival situation where people are taking funds set aside for tax payments or talking to their landlords, or what are you telling your clients right now? And I'm sure every case is different, so we're not going to hold you to it, but like, what are some of the thought processes that you have right now just to help someone get through the next 6 months?
Right. If your business is in survival mode, and some businesses are hit harder right now than others. Some businesses are actually seeing an uptick, depending upon what service they provide. But if your business is one that's hurting now, or if this lasts longer than 3 weeks, may hurt longer into the future, it's time to start thinking about things like, how long can your finances last? Do you need to think about the SBA loans or other funding like Mike was talking about? Now, like times like this, more than ever, is important to have your finances in order. So if you've been ignoring your books and keeping your numbers together, now is a really good time to have those so that you can use those to better project and make better decisions going forward.
Just out of curiosity, as someone that advises people with how to manage their money, in an operational sense, is this kind of recalibrating your idea of risk and debt and cash on hand to try and help someone? I mean, right now, of course it is, but just in general, is this kind of changing the way you think about emergency preparedness for your clients?
I think so. I think this is making us all think about a lot of different things from a lot of different angles. I don't really think our world is going to be the same after this.
No.
So yeah, absolutely. I think it's making people think about their businesses in different ways. How can you recession-proof your business, or how can you learn how to be creative and really stand in the value that you provide to your customers and clients, so that you build those relationships and they're going to try and support you no matter what happens. Yeah. And we're seeing that. There are some restaurants that have such loyal followings that they haven't really seen sales dip because people don't want to see them go out of business.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely making me reevaluate my strategic Twinkie reserve, which unfortunately is a little bit low right now. But if you need questions answered about some of these types of cash flow, finance issues, Rachel's an expert at this stuff. And Rachel, thank you for coming on and trying to explain it to us, because it's a mess and it's changing fast, and we appreciate your guidance. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help.
Absolutely. So thank you for sharing her contact information in the chat there, JB. Thank you. And I didn't properly thank Jennifer Buchholz, our executive producer. She's amazing. She's doing the chat right now, so she's keeping us up to date on what's being said and all the contact information. So high five to you, Jennifer. So we're going to open up the floor to some discussion now. We're going to switch over to the Idea Slam portion, which is a chance for us to take a breath, look at each other, have a chat, come up with some great ideas, and see if we can find ways to help you and your business pivot to take advantage of the opportunities that are there right now. It's not just duck and cover. It's finding new ways to reach out to your customers and offer a service. And we'll start with a fun one. We got to get our guy Michael Rampola on here. So Michael, you said you needed an idea, and I'm excited to see if this group can come up with a winner for you.
All right, so I have a very interesting...
Oh, wait, a whiteboard. Wait, hold on. Look at that. What do you got going on there?
This literally happened on the call before this call, and I shot a note over to Pat. I said, Pat, I need an idea. And he goes, all right, cool. Here's my one. It was great. And let's bring it to the call. So, all right, I have a very a different client. Her business is called My School Dance. It's an online web app that sells tickets for your high school dance. So you don't have to manage permission forms and take money at the door and all that other good stuff. That's her app. As you can imagine, school dances are shut down, so her whole revenue stream is zero right now. So she said, I want to do virtual prom. And I said, yes. And that's it. Yes. So I have some random contacts. I reached out to a DJ friend of mine, and he said, that sounds fantastic. We started scoping the whole thing, platform, how are we going to run it between pilots, and which time zones are we going to do it in, which region, what's our expected audience, how do we get the whole thing sponsored, Then we looked at virtualprom.com is already owned, and branding on this thing is going to be everything because it's got to be super shareable. It's going to be right now current concept, free to students with charitable donations available, and the charitable donations would go to school food banks that are providing school lunches for kids who now need the school lunches and that whole thing. I don't know. There's a name for it. That's not quite the right word, but we need a brand for this thing. Again, virtualprom.com happens to be owned by Men's Warehouse. I don't know how, but okay. So we need a new brand. Bonus points if the URL is not already owned.
So
there you go.
Here's the first thing that I'm thinking is that to get the attention of the actual kids that are losing out on their prom, that market is that big. The biggest market is the adult market because everyone's bored. So could you put up a brand that's something like Nationwide Prom Night and declare May 12th or whatever that Saturday to be Nationwide Prom Night, and it's all the adults in America can come to a prom because what else do we have to do? Nothing. And it's great music and it's drinks with your friends. It's as a national adult brand. And Nationwide Prom Night, of course, could be for the kids as well. They can do kids versions, but having a big time one for grown-ups, because that whole adult prom night, that's a thing.
That is a thing. I love it.
And Jennifer says that URL is available. Thank you, Jennifer, for checking
Nationwide Prom Night is available. All right. Nobody go buy these unless you're buying them on my behalf and you're donating them my way. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so Nationwide Prom Night. Love it. Keep them coming.
Yeah, what else you guys got? Unmute your mic and go ahead and jump in if you've got an idea.
Oh, it's a brainstorm. It's all wide open.
Absolutely. Heather shares nationwide karaoke would be a whole lot of fun. That is for sure. That would be a great activity to have people do their nationwide karaoke.
Also karaoke. Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So what does success look like here, Michael? How many people are you trying to get to participate?
Great question. Because of her platform, like we start with the Midwest Central Time Zone, she has 15,000 student emails in the Central Time Zone. And I said, what do you think you could get? She's super optimistic, which I love. She said, maybe I get 50%. So that's 7,500 impressions.
Wow.
And the whole concept, we got nothing else to do. It's going to be fully DJ'd, like we're going to run it right. I said, you got to get the slow song sponsored. She says, who's going to sponsor the slow song? I said, somebody will sponsor the slow song. Anyway, so we're just running all these different ideas. I'm sharing as much with this group as possible because we agreed that I would basically help her produce this thing because I think it honestly has a bunch of legs, and I think it can give her a revenue stream that would help her survive till next school year, which is what she needs.
Digitaldancefloor.com, Sarah Bauer is suggesting. Heather Hernandez, This is a brilliant way. So Heather's got an idea here about best dressed and creating other titles for that. In fact, Nationwide Prom Night Red Carpet could be live streamed on Instagram where people are sharing their photos using the hashtag.
Love it.
That way you could get a funnel going on of people that are coming to the event. And that could be a really fun way to bring those two things together. And you could run multiple layers of this. One for the adults, one for the teens, all these different contests, all of the sponsorable things. I mean, who would want to sponsor the slow dance? Well, Dentyne or gum companies or mouthwash companies or whomever, I'm sure they would want to do it. Singers and songwriters are live streaming for free, Heather shares. Maybe you could hook one or two into the event.
There we go.
That would be a great way to give some exposure to someone.
Content. I need new marketing.
Have some content, sure. David's Bridal, great idea. Jennifer Buchholz jumping in on that. Well, I'm just fascinated by this whole hanging whiteboard you have going on here. That's quite impressive.
I'm whiteboarding in place.
Okay, so we can nuance some more names. What are some other things that you're looking for here? Are you looking for additional names or different ways to make money or outreach or what?
Outreach is going to be a part of it. I love these new ideas about how to make money and create sponsorable. I said to her, you got to map this out like a full project and then cost per item and get somebody to sponsor every component. So I love these ideas of these other add-ons, like the other contests idea. That can be a sponsorable thing. I love this adult layer. That's genius. I never would have thought of that because of her audience, but I think that could be a big thing. I think she's confident, and you guys have to help me on this. She's fairly confident that the marketing is going to take off on its own once you put this concept out there. We're doing this. And like the positive PR on this, she thinks is going to be pretty great. But I also know that we need to position that just right to make it an easily that it generates its own flow.
Yeah, in addition to the red carpet, you could do a prom king and queen, which would be a huge interactive thing leading up to it. So nominate people to be a prom king or queen, let people vote for it on the website as they register. Shalini has another great idea. You're so smart, Shalini. Make My Prom is available. It could be a really interesting way.
I love that.
People will be attending from their homes, so maybe they could customize their own aspects. Imagine everyone celebrating New Year's Eve in their house. We all do it differently, but it's our way to celebrate our own prom. So that could be a really fun way. I wonder if you could get a pizza sponsor involved too, and have people deliver pizza for the after party, right? Because every prom has an after party. So, from 10 o'clock until noon, or 10 o'clock till midnight, rather, there's a pizza special for one of the nationwide pizza chains.
And we talked about flour, like you can deliver your corsage, across town.
Oh yeah.
Some people do that. I floral. And then I also thought, how they could generate a ton of buzz. Prom proposals or whatever that thing is. Like the virtual prom proposal could be a huge buzz generator on social.
Now that's a fun idea. JB says that you could have an Amazon store full of all the different props, which she could do affiliate links on and make money when people order them.
There we go.
She could set up everything you need for your own virtual prom. Yes, all the ways that you introduce to your significant other, which would be a lot of fun. What else do we have here? So many great ideas. It's hard to read them and talk at the same time.
I know, right?
But
these are great.
The whole chat and send it out to Michael as well.
Yeah, thank you for the chat.
Oh, yeah, you'll send the chat. Great. Thank you, JB. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah, what about one of the dating companies? Virtual Match, or this is a way to engage. You can't go out to the bars and date people. What if you're swiping left and right to go to the virtual prom together? I don't even know how those things work because I'm happily married to the best woman on the planet. Thank you very much. But however that works.
Love it.
Yeah.
These are great. If there are other ideas that need this group's collective genius, I don't want to take too much time, but this has been beyond fantastic. Thank you all so much.
Oh yeah, Liz, hold on. One last great one. Liz Watson is saying that her husband works at a virtual high school. So is your client collaborating with these virtual high schools in general? Because there's a whole market there. So that's a great opportunity. Liz, genius.
Oh my gosh, because we never would have connected to that market because they don't have physical events.
Right.
Oh my gosh, virtual high schools. Thank you. All the schools that don't have a physical location already, virtual. I love you people.
We
love you all.
We got to add Big Mike's comment, paradise by the smartphone light. And with that note, we're gonna end on that. We're gonna end on that. Mic drop. Very good, Big Mike. All right, Michael Rampola. Thank you.
Oh, the right group. Thank you all so much.
All right, Sarah Bauer, you say that you need some help today. Sarah, what's going on? How can we help you?
Here, I'll show you my problem. Come here. Come here. Come here. So I would like to know what to do.
Hey!
I will show you my problem.
Okay.
So my question for you guys. Okay, I need you to go downstairs. I'll for real. I am on the call. Thank you. Yeah, that's where I'm at. So. Hi guys. They're cute. I'll sell them for a great price. No, I'm just teasing. So my question is this. So my husband and I are both working like crazy people right now, and my job has picked up like crazy. So I'm not looking for like necessarily ways to make my business work because there's a lot of merchants with a lot of questions and loans and all sorts of crazy things. Ideas on how to, I'm at a loss of how to balance this right now.
Yeah.
I'm getting a whole lot of nothing done. And I'm almost like thinking like, I can't not work. That's not an option. And I can't not pay attention to young children. Right. So how are you, for those of you with kids or I don't know. I'm just looking for ideas. Like, I don't know. Do I shift my work hours to like super early morning? I mean, I don't know. I'm looking for ideas and tips. I have virtual play dates. I know every activity I give them is great, but it's like 10 minutes. And then I need to like hunker down and work for chunks of time. So we all know that we're not really productive if we only work for 10 minutes at a pop.
Are you and your husband working different shifts where you work 6 to 10 and he works 10 to 2 and you work 2 to 6 and he works 6 to 10 and you kind of break out the day into shifts?
It's a great question. I think we have to get a little bit more real about that because we're both kind of on call. That's the challenge. He's in IT and I'm kind of on call to my clients too, but I think that's the way it's going to have to go. I'm obviously in an open office, so that's going to have to be fixed by tonight. And I'm going to take over the spare bedroom because I have to have a door because they keep having little visitors. I love them. They're great. They're wonderful, but it's just, it's a challenge. So everyone's like, yeah, I know. I hear ya. And maybe there's no good answer. So I don't know. That's a good idea. Those shifts, like from 10 to 2 or 10 to noon, I'm on. That's it.
And it may have to be as short as 90-minute or 2-hour shifts where none of your clients need to know that you're doing 90-minute flip back and forth or 2-hour. I can get back to you at 2. I'm free at 2. Is 2 good?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of activities that we could brainstorm, which are great. But Garrett has a great idea that someone else could be building the arcade games right now. Maybe that's not what your husband's doing.
Yeah, if that were the case, then that would be all on pause. But no, it's he works in IT for the Milwaukee Brewers, so he has to keep all the virtual, everyone who's working virtually up and running. So it's a different kind of demand. It's fine. It's what it is. So those shifts are a good idea. I'm open to any other ideas. Those of you with young kids at home or families that have young kids or kids that have kids, how they're doing it. Because FMLA or just, I could just say, well, I'm sorry, I can't work for the next few weeks, but that's not really an option. So, it's a weird balance. Very weird. I don't even know how I'm going to school them. I don't know. I'm just going to give up on that, actually.
Well, of all the things that are happening right now, how is your homework doing? Sure seems to be one of the things that I know that I haven't paid as much attention to as I should, right? Like if they're keeping up on geometry, important, but not my top priority at the moment.
Yeah, that's the shift. I could see like for those of you who maybe have older children or grandchildren that are older, I couldn't even imagine trying to take like a 10th grader and walk them through calculus right now.
No.
At least they're young and it doesn't really matter. So, it really doesn't. So it really doesn't. No. And so, no, I don't even know spring break this week. So it's a great question. Maybe that's a topic for next week when people start getting into the virtual learning part of this, but it's not going to happen. And obviously we can't have grandma and grandpa help for social distancing. They've offered, but it's not an option either. So
that's one of the hard parts. We wish you luck with that. I wish we had some more concrete ideas for you, Sarah, but we don't.
The emotional support, maybe that's it.
I'd make sure they get outside. That's the big thing, really, more than anything, right?
Yeah.
So they burn off some of the steam. Your kids are the same age as mine, pretty much. So
yeah.
We've been putting them in mud suits and letting them run all over, and they spend an hour or two burning off steam, and then it's Paw Patrol time for a little while. Right?
Tried that one.
Little too much Sesame Street and screen time, probably, but
that's exactly what we do with our dog. We do
there you
dogs.
Get them to run, and then we have to clean them up. But I was just going to make a couple of suggestions. There is some programming and stuff. For instance, something just popped up over here and on ESPN or one of the ESPN channels tonight is a thing. It's all dog stuff all night long. So dog agility trials, they call it something like that. But that just popped up, and that would probably give you 3 to 4 hours tonight if you focused your kids on that. The other thing that I've seen that Audible is doing free streaming of books and stories, and most of those are aimed at children. So it's free. All you'd have to do is get on and essentially get a story going. Now, again, the kids hopefully they'll have enough attention span to listen to some of those stories. but that would be at least some way to get a little pressure off of you.
It's not a bad idea. Hopefully the snow stays away too. For your guys' suggestions to go outside.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting balance. I think you're right, Pat. I think it's just I need to have chunks of time to work, bigger chunks, not 10 minutes, because we all know like I can get into something for a hot minute and then and boom. So I've had little bombers on all my Zoom calls, and I mean I think people are being very accommodating and understanding. I'm sure you guys have been on phone calls with other people, and like there's a cat, there's a child, there's a
dog barking in the background.
Dog barking in the background. I don't think anyone's been like, oh, I'm so offended by this, you know, or if you are, maybe we shouldn't be friends, but you know,
I think
good ideas though.
They'll continue to be accommodating if we seem to have it under control, relatively speaking, you know, and again, nobody's going to expect perfection at this time, but you know, 2 or 3 weeks or a month out, people are going to be getting frustrated. And so if they feel as if you bring a moment of calm to the world when they're dealing with you, whether it's for a business problem or anything else, I think that will just go a long way.
Yeah.
And again, you know, it is trying to carve out chunks. I don't have little kids or anything like that, but we still have to carve out some chunks of time around our dog, which is a high energy dog. We normally take him to a dog park every day. Well, now we won't even be able to do that starting tomorrow or whenever that kicks in. And so, you know, we're always taking turns with making sure that he's occupied and not doing things like eating toilet paper rolls, which you already did today. And, you know, that's like gold. So.
Well, Sarah, hopefully that's helpful. I know it's a challenge that a lot of people are facing. But let's talk about something happy, shall we? Some people like to go out to a nice steak dinner or maybe have some friends over to celebrate. But our guy, Mark Shannon, decided to spend his birthday with us. Happy birthday, Mark. How are you?
I'm good.
So what are we looking at today? 32, 33, something like that?
Yeah, I take off 10 years for good behavior.
Very
My
good.
kids keep me young because I'm busy chasing them. In between conference calls and everything else.
So how are you celebrating today?
We're debating whether or not we're going to go to Jimmy's Grotto and get panzeratas. So,
ooh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth the risk or not. It's a tough call. So,
yeah, something to carry out, something nice and nice, better than mac and cheese or whatever it would be otherwise, right?
Yep. So, that'll be fun.
Very good. Well, happy birthday to you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
So anybody that is on the call, I'm curious before we hang up, this is technically spring break week for many. How many folks, by show of hands, were supposed to be someplace else right now? Anyone supposed to be on a trip? Oh, JB, tell us about your sad trip. I feel so bad for you. Where were you supposed to be right now?
Well, the sad part, I was going to be in Luxembourg. The nice part was that I was going to be with my boyfriend, who was then going to be at work in Luxembourg. But yeah, and actually it looks like Luxembourg might not be the worst place to be during the pandemic. So I don't know. Anyway, my trip there was canceled. My trip to England in April for the Global Excel Summit has been canceled. I don't know. I don't know. So that could be worse.
Yeah. Who else was supposed to be someplace else? Nikki was supposed to be someplace. Nikki, where were you supposed to be? I unmuted you.
We actually technically are not supposed to leave until April 10th. So it's highly unlikely that we're going anywhere.
Right.
But yeah, so our spring break is late. We were not supposed to go until the week of Easter. So, but yeah, it's disappointing.
Where were you supposed to go?
We were going to be in the Gulf. So Panama City Beach is where we're going to get a condo rented. And we had 5 families going. And so to try and reschedule with 5 families is near impossible, right?
Yeah,
but we're on the same school district, so we planned it the same week. So we're going back and forth like, oh, we could do it in May, we could do it in June, we could do it. And everyone's like, nope, that doesn't work for me. Nope, that doesn't work for me. And I'm like, oh, forget it.
Yeah.
But so we got lucky, and I've heard some horror stories about people trying to cancel. We looked through a really great property management company that's willing to give you your money back at 100%, and or you can reschedule within a year. So some of the other people that we were going with have not been so lucky, and the property managers have not been as flexible. So I'm at least thankful for that.
Yeah.
That we can get 100% of our money back. So
yeah,
it is what it is. It stinks.
Well, we'll try and make the best of it for you here. And poor Mary Irish, you were supposed to be in Italy. We're glad you're here and not there.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but you know, it's better here. And God knows the fabulous Sarah Nowaki had us covered. We were keeping an eye on it, and she was fantastic for us. So we took a stutter start to Savannah, and that too was shortened up, but we're home safe, and we're grateful for that.
Good, good. Stay healthy, and thanks for joining us on the call. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep on doing these calls 3 o'clock in the afternoon all this week. If you're not on the text distribution list yet, Jennifer's put that down in the chat. Text the word biz to that phone number, because every day that I do a call, I'm going to text out to that list saying, hey, everybody, we're going to do a call. The other thing that I'm curious about, and you can hit me up offline about this, what else would you like to talk about? We've talked about marketing. We've talked about mindset. We talked about the funding. We've tried to have Erik on as many times as we can to catch us up with what's going on in the news. So I would love to have you come on and let me know what you would like to talk about in these calls. So with that, that's all we've got for today's Small Business Rally Point. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, and we'll continue the conversation. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to Jennifer Buchholz, and thank you to the Greater Brookfield Chamber of Commerce for their support. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3. Stay well.